So was that right when the bubble was happening?
No, that was it was around there, 2000, 2001.
But it wasn't due to the bubble. But that was like a very tough time for you. And was that the time? I don't know if my sister, your wife, was that the time you were cutting cable bills and cutting everything at home, and we
went down to basic cable. At the time. You could get just the local stations from the cable company for something like $9 a month, and so we went all the way down to that because. At the time then, I think that was still dial-up internet. So when I was doing anything on the internet at home, I had to dial in on my phone. So I had to keep the phone lines on. I had to have a phone line on as well.
But you had cable at $9. Then you fast forward. So that's 2001. And you fast forward. And can you tell us kind of quickly the story right before you got acquired? Because that 2 years, I thought was absolutely just blew my mind going, dude, how did you ever survive this?
Yeah, so actually things were looking pretty good after the 2001 recession got over and we got all paid and that new company was in charge and our business started picking up.
Yep.
And we grew pretty rapidly. Gosh, I can't remember how many people, I don't know the exact numbers, but like in 2001 when we came out of that, it was probably 25 employees, maybe 30, somewhere in there. We grew up until 2007. We were at 65 employees. We were really cranking.
You go from you started the first year, 2 years, whatever, to 65.
65.
And that was over, 20?
That was over 22 years.
22 years.
So here we are. We're rolling into 2006, 2007. Things are cranking. And, we're coming up on the 2007, 2008 Great Recession.
Right.
But we didn't know that at the time.
Of course you didn't.
And we were cranking, and we were the top partner provider to this company's primary software line. So we were the guys.
So they have the primary software that they put in, which covers most of it, and then you have all the bolt-ons.
We have all the bolt-ons, and we're experts in the service management area. Yeah, we probably got 24 bolt-ons we've written. So every new deal, every new customer that buys from them puts probably at least four of our bolt-on products on there. So we're at the point now where we're global. We're in 29 countries. My job as a products guy is to go around and train everybody how to position and sell our products, and we're just killing it. I had a great time. I would go around the world to different sales meetings, tell these guys how to sell our products, come back, and at the end of each month, they'd send us a royalty report and say, here's how much of your stuff we sold.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was great.
Here's how much money we owe you. And I think you told me at one point in time, and I don't know if you can say the number, but, when Terry comes into you and says, Tony, I think
got our report.
Got a report.
Yeah. So, the fun part, the little story there is we had this big brass bell we hung out. So whenever we'd sell a new deal of our own, not one of our bolt-ons, whoever the sales guy would get a bang and you get to go ring it, And so everybody in the office would hear it ring and they go, oh, this is awesome. So we decided
we're getting paid this weekend.
But that didn't tell you how big a deal it was. Like our guy could have sold like a little bolt-on product could have been $2,000, or we could have sold a brand new ERP system. Like our biggest one that we sold was probably $450,000.
So $2 to $450,000.
Right, and so you get one ding for a $100,000 deal, one ding for a $2,500. It didn't seem fair, so we came up with a new rule: is that
bing, 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 bing,
every $10,000 of deal you hit it once. So when they'd hear the bell go ding, everybody'd stop and they'd start counting 1, 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we get they'd stop at $70,000 deal, and they go, and these things, we didn't close them very often.
Right.
But the cool thing was almost everything was going through the royalty system now because this company was selling our software.
Right.
So once a month we get the royalty report, and nobody rang a bell for it because there was no salesperson associated with it. So I made Terry, my right-hand gal, she's been there, she's still there today.
She's awesome, love her.
So we said, Terry, you have to ring the bell. So royalty report would come in and would tell you not only the new sales that you had, but all the renewal maintenance contracts would come in. And so it'd be two numbers and you'd add them up. And so, a lot of the royalty reports at the time would be $50,000, $70,000, $80,000, So royalty report would come in, she'd go ding, ding. And then, everybody was like, what was that? And it's like, she'd announce a royalty report.
Royalty report.
But they'd start counting, right? And here we are, we're coming up on 2007. And this company comes and approaches us, says, we'd like to acquire you guys. You guys, we're paying you a lot in the royalty stuff. You've got this huge consulting practice, huge programming practice. You got all this recurring revenue. We just want to buy it. We're like, cool. So we went into talks with them. And we were doing some negotiations. I had never been acquired before, so I was trying to learn as we went along.
This sounds like your first job that you did. How much do you want?
Yeah, how much is it?
1,000. No, you could probably go higher.
$1 million.
1,500. So you're learning. So everybody thinks, oh, you automatically know because you're a great businessman. But every time you step into a new situation, it's like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, so there's these things like an LOI.
LOI, letter of intent.
Letter of intent. And they always say they're non-binding. Well, there's a couple things that are binding, like, you're not going to tell anybody about it, but non-binding means they're just it's open for renegotiation on everything, right? There's no commitment. But they always tell you what the amount is, and you negotiate that a little bit up front, but it's still kind of non-binding, based on due diligence.
We'll get you close to there, but if we find something bad, we're going to knock it down.
Yeah, right. And then they have a department. They do nothing but acquisitions. They got a team of people. What's that?
M&A.
M&A. Mergers and Acquisitions Department.
Kobe's awake. Good.
Kobe's
I'm here.
Kobe's been through this conversation.
Yes, he has.
And then all they do is they look at the due diligence and come up with ways to, and I know I'm being a little bit flippant here, but
you are.
They're like, we need to knock it down a little bit here. Oh, we didn't know that you were spending this kind of money over here. Okay, that we're going to have to spend twice as much, so that's not worth as much. And, oh, wait, we're going to need more working capital over here, so we're going to take some... And next thing you know, they just start chipping away at it because you've already, as a founder, you've fallen in love with the number they gave you at first. And if they just chip it down by 5%, you can talk yourself into taking 95% of that number. You like that number, 95, that's not that bad. Yeah, I'll keep it.
What was the percentage they knocked you down?
They went down 10% after the little nicks and cuts.
Cuts, yeah. What is it called? Death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing?
Oh, so, and you know what?
And 10%, I don't know what you actually made on it, but you got to think seven figures. So 10%, if you're multiple seven figures, that starts to get to be a big number.
It's a big number. And at the time they were reducing it, and we were a little disappointed, but we were still excited to be acquired and become part of the team. And the 65, most of the 65 would become part of their team and continue.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
So it was going to be a good, we didn't realize that the recession was coming, and they kept delaying the closing. Well, I got to have you meet with this one person. We need this one final term. We had the agreement, the purchase agreement was done, but they kept needing one more meeting, and they kept delaying it 3 weeks. And finally, we got into like October, and they were like, I'm like, dude, I said, I'm not an expert salesperson, but I've been in enough sales deals. I know you guys can't close this for some reason, and I know that you won't tell me why. So destroy all the materials and come back and talk to me when we can make this happen.
So you went from this huge rush, like, oh my God, I'm getting acquired. I'm going to do my big cash out after 22, 27?
It would have been 22 years there.
22 years.
23 years, yeah.
So excited about it, and a huge letdown, right? So the emotional roller coaster for me when I talk to you is that's pretty devastating.
On top of that, because we were in the middle of all this due diligence and the planning of all this acquisition during that year, midway through the year, the gal that used to be our boss for our reseller part of the business where we're reselling their software, who had fired us once before, so she wasn't really pleased with us to start with. When the new company acquired, that was back when they almost went out of business.
Right.
The new company came in and we made a pitch to the new company and said, hey, look at all of our experience. We want to sell again. He's like, hell yeah, you're selling. And so they hired me back. The VP hired us back against her wishes, but she was still my boss.
Oh, great. That sounds like fun.
She allegedly didn't know that this acquisition was going on, and then she came and called us one day and she put us on double secret probation. Like, if you don't sell $500,000 worth of our stuff over the next 120 days, you guys are fired. We were like, okay. And we were kind of like giggling a little bit. It's like, we're going to be acquired in 30 days. Who cares?
Oh, my God.
So the acquisition goes off, and then and now in the meantime, the email they sent us is like, you got to do $500,000 in business net to us in 120 days.
Right.
They didn't say what product lines. And in the middle of that, our sales rep had gotten into one of their other product lines and got a deal done that was worth like $400,000. And we had sold $170,000 other stuff. So together it was $570,000.
Right, over.
So we didn't care. We didn't really care because we were getting acquired. When we found out we weren't getting acquired, it didn't matter because we still hit the number.
Right.
So she calls us with her boss and says, hey, I'm just here to inform you that you didn't hit your number. So you're terminated effective immediately. I go, well, wait a second. Your email, I'm reading right here, says we have to do $500,000 in product. She goes, that's right. And I go, well, we did. We did the $400,000 deal over here and the $170,000. She goes, we only meant about the 170 side, not that 400. That doesn't count. Like, well, it doesn't say that in your email. I'm not going to argue with you. You know that's what we meant. So you're still fired. So we got fired. So we went over the edge.
From being acquired
to not being acquired, and now our business has been shut down with them, which is pretty much most of our business.
Oh, man. And on the horizon was this?
And then the economy just fell out from under us, right? So we went. We were allowed to continue working on the clients that we had. We were in the process of implementing, but we couldn't sell any new deals.
How nice of you! Yeah.
Well, we had to keep our services people busy and keep.
No, but how nice of the company!
Right.
Oh, we'll let you still do that.
So anyway, here we are in January, and the first thing we have to do is figure out. Well, we got to cut staff. We don't have a way to sell new stuff. So we're at 65.
So you're at 6 years later.
Yeah, from that time
that you got kind of whacked, and
right.
Now you're back on. Now we're
at 65. Again. We're at the top of our game.
Now you're getting whacked again.
Now we have to whack. So we go from 65 people to 52 people.
Okay, so 20% again.
So we're like, okay, that'll help us get there. Well, the economy thing was way worse than everybody thought it was going to be,
and it keeps going.
And this company won't let us back in.
So 65 to 52.
To 52. So now, but we're still a partner. They're still selling our partner products, but for a year there, they weren't selling anything. Nobody was buying anything.
Right.
And now we can't sell their product, and we can't service. It's hard to service these things because we're not selling them. Anyway, so we go to 52 people, 65 to 52, and that's a serious bummer. I hate firing people. It's way hard. It
sounds easy when people talk about it. It's like, yeah, I had to fire 32 people, but each one. There's a Mary in there that has 3 kids. There's a Dave in there that's mother is sick. It's
excruciating. And you think about you just hate. I mean, I'm sure it's bad for us. It's worse for everybody who's getting fired. But then you're thinking about it, worried about it,
and you're multiplying it by 13 that you're getting rid of. You know what I mean?
And it is my fault because they're being terminated. But we got screwed by this company because they're taking us out of the channel.
But like your lesson that you learned early on, Tony. It's your damn responsibility.
It is. So
Which sucks. I get it. I'm not trying to put the screws.
And at first, if you look at an organization with 65 people, there are going to be a ton of great people, and there's probably a few that you could probably justify. You're still developing. They're not fully contributing. So that doesn't. It's not as hurtful to the organization for those 3 people to go because they weren't really fully. But the rest of them, it's a serious bummer, and some of them have been with the company for multiple years or longer. So we did that, and the economy keeps in free fall, and here we are like 3 or 4 months later, we're still losing money.
So you went from 65 to 52, and didn't you have to cut more?
Then, it was about 3 or 4 months later, still losing money every month. We cut, and we went from 52 to 40.
Whoa, 62 all the way down to 40.
65, 52, 40. Oof. Now, this one hurts because those are longer-term people. They've got tons of experience with our company. They've been there forever, but we don't have any money for them. We're losing money every month, so we got to cut them again, and then that was just horrible. And as soon as the first time you cut, you do it all in a big group. We're doing this because we think we're getting it right-sized. Everybody believes they're okay. They hang on.
Oh, yeah, so this is okay now. This is okay now. The earth is settled.
Yes.
And it's like, we can build on this. This is cool.
Second time it happens, they're all like, what? When's the next one coming?
Yeah, the waves. Oh,
and we did open book management, so we were sharing financials with everybody. As a matter of fact, before right when the acquisition was about to happen, we were sitting on $1.6 million in cash in the checking account.
Oh, gee. This is the part that crushes me when I hear that. You are just like awesome. Your acquisition.
We're making money.
Now you got fired,
cash.
No acquisition. The money is going away so quickly.
So we start going over the hill. We're like losing $100,000 a month. So we cut those first, 65 to 52 people, right? Mm-hmm. And then the losses accelerate. We're losing $100,000 a month again. So then we had to cut down to 40 people. We're trying to get to the point where we're just breaking even, and we got cash. Well, we had cash, and it's going away. Long story short, we end up having to go another round later on down to 30 people to get
more than half, 62 to 30.
And now if you go fast forward 18 months later, we have $0 in cash in the checking account. We went from $1.6 million. We burned it all trying to save the people and the company. It's gone.
And your entire business is halved. More than halved.
The entire business is cut in half. Now, at that point, we're kind of at a break-even point.
But emotionally,
we're
aren't
drained.
you?
There's people are just drained.
18 months. It's like this whole COVID thing. The last year, it's taken a number, but
and everybody's waiting
months.
for the next round. I know we're at 30, but by this time now the economy started to turn around a little bit. Now we're down. We're really super skinny, and we start. So anyway, we need to borrow. We've still got accounts receivable, right? It's just a much smaller number than what it was because we're doing less business.
People may not be paying you either.
What's that?
People may not be paying you.
Yeah,
either.
we had to work through some of those write-offs during that process. But then we got to the point where we're out of cash and we got to use a line of credit, and then the bank's like, nope.
How are you doing?
They said,
we're not
nope.
doing well.
Because we called them, we're like, hey, we're going to need about $50,000 to $100,000 to make payroll. We've got accounts receivable to borrow against. They're like, no, after the last 18 months, the amount of money you lost, no, we don't want to loan you any money. So we had to switch banks.
Oh, jeez.
And unfortunately we were able to find our way through that. And then they got a new CEO into this company, and they started focusing resources back towards the main product we had built on bolt-ons for. And then things started really picking up gradually at first, and then started picking up. And then I was like, "You are not hiring anybody. Like, we're staying at 30 because I'm not sure
because it's too painful. Not
too
sure.
painful.
You don't want to do it again.
We had just lost.
You're trying to keep your culture together, and you're trying to keep the emotional, of everybody there still going.
And we'd burned $1.5 million in 18 months. We're like
1.6.
Oof. So things start coming back. We start making money. The royalty reports start popping back up again. And it keeps accelerating. And with the focus on the product, that product line starts picking up and things are good, but I won't let them hire. I still won't let them hire.
Super lean, but you're doing okay now.
Super mean. And I feel bad because there was a gal that ran our support department, and she was making a case like we were picking up a lot of new customers.
Right.
We need more support people to handle the calls that come in and do the tweaks and bug fixes and whatnot. And I kept sending her back. She'd make a big, great case for it where I normally would have said, yeah, hire 2 people right now. And she'd go, I want to hire 2 people. Here's why. I'm like, go check this date out. And I'd send her back. And in the meantime, so this is through 2010. And now beginning of 2011, I get a phone call from this company again. They're like, hey, we got a new CEO, and this time we think we can get through a deal. Would you talk to us about acquisition?
So is this 10 years later?
This is from 2007, end of 2007 to the beginning of 2011. So,
okay, 4. Right.
So 8, end of 8, end of 9, end of 10. Yeah, 3.5 years later, maybe.
Okay.
And so now they're like, hey, would you guys talk to us about this acquisition thing again? We know we can get it done this time because, they left us standing at the altar and wouldn't answer my phone calls last time.
And so now you've got some bad blood a little bit. You're just like, you jerk me around. You spent a lot of time, emotional roller coaster, had to beat it through the last 18 months, barely surviving, and now they want to talk to you.
And things are going well, so that's good with us. And we don't need to talk to them. And the other thing that was cool is going through all the due diligence, or as people like to call it, due dilly.
Or DD.
The DD.
Double D, baby.
We go through all the due diligence, and we see how they negotiated that 1,000 cuts to get us down that 10%.
Yep. Okay, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, so we're going to keep going from this point forward. Tony, what were you saying, bud?
Ben had to go potty.
No, but I did get a drink on the side. So you were getting really ready to the good stuff, right?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, let's see. So the beauty about what had happened when they left me standing at the altar was I had to go through all those death by 1,000 cuts pieces where they were reducing the amount that they wanted to pay us.
The first time.
First time. So I took note of everything they did and some of the arguments they used as far as how they valued the company and the multiples they used and what kind of categories of expenses. And so during that period when we were cutting everybody back, we actually restructured our entire accounting system to be based on financial acquisition and what we learned back at that point. So,
which is dangerous for you.
Which was awesome
if
for us.
Anybody's coming in because now you know the speech. You know where they're going to hit you. You know how to fight back too, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and it wasn't about fighting and being emotional. Although that's a hard thing. It's your baby you're talking about, right?
Sure.
And but it was like I know they're going to say this, and when they say this, this is how we have to respond. So they started asking about EBITDA.
Yep, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization.
Look at that guy. It's like he's a CFA or something. CPA.
Yeah.
Certified
pain in the Batusi. Got it.
Okay. So they called us back at early 2011 and said, hey, you guys cool. We got different leadership were really interested. And by that time, we had developed a brand new product, which was really hot. It was like...
And they're paying you a lot of money now because, right, a lot of royalties? Is that right?
Yeah, the royalties are coming up. And this product we developed was a very small price tag. But what happened is they had like a 80% attach rate, meaning out of every deal that they sold, new deal, 80% of the time they would use that one product would be attached there. Not only the other products they were selling of ours, but this thing was attached to 80% of all their new deals.
Yeah, baby.
Wow. Product management was like, we want that product.
We'll take that.
Yeah. And it was a little amount, but it just kind of built up really quickly. It was crazy. So
weren't you telling me, though, they wrote you the checks like every month it was like $4,000 and then $6,000, then $10,000. It got over a particular level, which got to the C-suite, which was the CEO, CFO,
when they had to write us a check, if it was so big, it had to be approved at higher and higher levels.
Well, they're sitting there like, why the hell am I paying this guy this much money every month?
That's exactly what
they knew why they were paying us, because of quality.
Well, not the C-suite. They're sitting there looking at an enormous check and being like, why am I writing this? Right?
Can't we just own this? Who is this cat? Who is this Tony Petrucciani?
Pepperoni.
Tony Pepperoni.
So they approached us early 2011. Things are going well by this time. I won't let anybody hire anybody because I know this acquisition is coming and anybody we hire is going to affect the price.
Because right now, if you keep the expenses low and you keep the sales up, then that looks super good for an acquisition.
The EBITDA is bigger.
Yeah, you want a multiple on your revenues and everything?
Yes. So all that stuff we talk about is very important. Way to go,
and we weren't quite at the cloud software arena where we could do just pure multiple of revenue that they were buying. Which is kind of really popular now because Kobe is, the cool kids are all doing it that way.
Yeah, so if they're doing everything in the cloud, then people really love it. They're willing to pay a bigger price, and paying that price is a multiple of whatever your revenue is. So if you got $1 million, they don't care about all the expenses below. They just take $1 million, multiply it by 7. They go, we'll give you $7 million for this. So you weren't there, but you had a really good setup, and it changed a lot.
So our typical thing was if they bought $10,000 worth of software, they would pay us 20% or $10,000. They'd pay us $2,000 a year for the maintenance and support. So we keep putting new functionality in there and answer the phone, tell them, talk them through it. So we were still getting recurring revenue. It just wasn't recurring at the top line of the software. It was kind of the maintenance side. But anyway, they approached us early 2011. We got this other product that's taken off. The company is really doing well themselves with the refocus that they had done with the new leadership team. And so we get this, I think it was May. Terry comes in my office and goes, there might be something wrong with this royalty report. Why is that? It just looks too big. Like, oh, that's the kind of problem I'd like to investigate. Let's look
Terry's going, oh, my arm's going to get tired if I have to ring this bell so many times.
We had, it was our only time it happened, I think, in the whole history, but the 1 month's royalty report was over $500,000.
50 times. Bing, 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 ding, bing.
So
bing,
she's
bing,
back
bing,
there. She goes, ding, ding, ding. And then everybody in the building gets up and starts walking over to where the bell is, the hallway. When she's ringing.
No, but like the 10th time or the 15th time?
I think it was probably in the 20s. When it started getting in the 20s, they thought somebody was screwing around. Like, somebody's kid's in here beating on the bell, and this isn't real.
That Jacoby Petrucciani kid, he was always loved to ding the bell a little too long.
And they all come around, and then when she stops the last one, they're all like, they don't want to applaud yet because they're like, is this real? What are you guys screwing around? And they was like,
awesome?
this is real. And everybody's like, ah! Because we did a profit sharing program. So
that's right.
Once we went over a certain amount of profit for every $50,000 of profit we had, we would take a percentage of that and give that to the employees.
Ooh.
We had to fill the bucket. And when the bucket was full,
after you covered the fixed expenses, what's that?
It overfloweth.
The bucket overfloweth. And I can't remember. I think we were doing like 8% or something. So it was when you started filling up multiple buckets in a month or in a quarter, it started being a significant amount of money. So that was good. And after having lost over $1.5 million in a year and a half, 2 year period, it was good to start filling buckets up again.
So now you're to a point where you just got your butt kicked. You just emotionally got drained. You've got rid of all of your money. You're licking your wounds because you've just been brutalized. Things are starting to turn. Your new product is 80% attached. The royalty comes in big. These guys now want to buy you. And you're like, I don't really even know if I want you to buy me. Whatever, dude. And so you're in a great position after just being brutally hit with rock after rock, knife, bat.
That's when you're ready for negotiation right there.
That's
It's
exactly
like, well,
So
I don't really need to get acquired.
So I started with you know what? I'm going to put together, based on how I know you guys like to acquire stuff and how you're going to look at me, and I know how you're going to look at me. We're going to take these and we're going to make 4 components out of it, and I'm going to tell you what we want to be paid for each of those, and then and we wrote it up and sent it back to him, and it was a pretty big number. It was like
comparison-wise, what it was
compare what we agreed to the first time around. This thing was like 3 times as much as we agreed to, and we're half the number of people.
Woo! 3 times and half the number. Wow, that does blow your mind.
That's
what we
incredible.
started with, and they came back to like, we can't do that. And they came, we negotiated. We ended up coming out. It was between 2 and 3 times what they offered us, but we came off the top number. But it was pretty good conversation, and then it dragged on a little bit, but not much, as we were trying to get through the agreement again, because we actually wanted to get if they backed out, we wanted a deal termination bonus or payment to come to us. Like, you guys back out of this deal, we're getting money anyway.
And you kind of screwed us before, because you probably made decisions based on the fact you were going to get acquired, right?
Right. So now they wouldn't agree to that, and we eventually agreed not to go for that. Let's just get it done was what we said. Both sides, like, let's just get it done. So here we are. We're scooching down the end, and we knew that they were basing everything off of the trailing 12 months EBITDA.
Right.
For the particular business unit they really wanted. And then the other stuff was we're negotiating.
Well, and that's still going up, right?
Well, that's the thing is he calls me one day and he says, I'm waiting for this call because he did it before. And that's his job. That is their job. They're supposed to get the best deal they can. That's how they get, promoted and graded, right? So
you knew it was coming. You're ready. Now you weren't the old-time, naive, ignorant individual
that just said, yes, okay, sir.
Now you've read that. I mean, you showed it to me. How many pages was that thing again?
Gosh, I don't know. It was like 1,000 pages, 800 pages or something.
You spent an entire weekend, I think you told me.
Oh, I read that. Yeah.
Just one weekend?
Morning to night. I think it was like an extra day, though, too.
On the final, it took me 2 days to go through the contract to double, triple check everything. I did it 3 times, but on the very last one, I went through personally and read the whole thing.
So you're like locked and loaded now. You're
I know it's
coming.
Well, I spreadsheeted the numbers.
Those things are so dry too. It's just all legalese.
And therefore,
Red Bull.
subsection A of what it will not be. Yeah, it's like brutal.
I remember ours. It was nowhere near as long as yours, and I fell asleep trying to read that.
Red Bull.
Red Bull and contract.
I did a lot of Red Bull back then, and that helped me get through it. But so I kept spreadsheeting the numbers every month as we went. I kept tallying them up, and I didn't call and say anything, but I waited, and he called one day and he says, "Hey, we've been looking at some of the numbers, and we're going to have to drop the offer." And I can't remember what it was, like $1 million. It was some big number. Oof. And I'm like, well, I am so glad you brought this up. And I go, because I've been tracking the numbers, and based on the trailing 12 months, you guys actually have to pay us $500,000 more, not $1 million less. And he goes, why don't we just get this deal closed the next week or 2 and not worry about the number?
Don't worry about what I just said. No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll keep
That's so awesome. I'm so happy for you. That's great.
The funny part was my partner, Marty, he's very compartmentalized about work and home. And so, the first time we were getting acquired, his wife never knew that acquisition was going on. So when it failed, it wasn't like a big deal because she wouldn't know. And I had told my wife, and I was super disappointed and super stressed out when everything shit hit the fan. So here we are. We had actually we used to do this trip. Now that we got money, we were doing this trip as every year. Any of the sales reps that hit their numbers, we'd go on a trip, and sometimes we'd go to Cancun or Florida or somewhere, and we'd go take everybody to hit their numbers. The owners would go down there, and then we started doing this thing where anybody who had been there 15 years, or 15th anniversary, they got to go with a guest, spouse or significant other. So here we are, we're coming down the stretch on trying to sign this deal, and we had planned this trip, and it was in October. It was September, and so October, and so we went on this trip. We go to Bermuda.
Yeah,
and we're all there, but one of the people that was there was one of the 15-year trips and wasn't in on the acquisition. They didn't know what was going on, so we couldn't talk about it on the trip.
Gotcha.
Oof. So we're at dinner, and I know that Marty hadn't told his wife or whatever, and we're at dinner one night, and we're all kind of code talking around, so we didn't disclose. And so,
pass me the Mai Tai. Oh.
So Kelly, Marty's wife, sitting over across the table, and the code word was
Onomatopoeia?
she looks at me and she goes, "The eagle has landed."
So
and
it was done.
No, the eagle has landed meant that Marty told her what had happened.
Gotcha.
Now this is like a couple days before we signed the final documents.
Sure.
It was all done. All we had to do was sign it and get the money transferred. But of course, there's a lot that could go wrong there, as we know.
Yeah.
But so I said,
ain't done till it's done.
So I looked at her. She goes, "The eagle has landed," and she goes, "And the eagle is very happy." So that was fun. And then we got to make the big announcement to everybody the following week when we were back. They came over and we did the deal, and it all got done really quickly from there. But that was like it was November 1st, 11/1/2011.
Wow, 11/1.
The deal got done, and then it was they split the payments. There was an immediate down payment of a third, and then they paid us a third in 3 months and a third in 6 months. And so we were all holding our breath for the second payment and then the third payment. And without fail, that morning, before lunch, on the day that we were supposed to have the money, they'd wire it in the account. It would show up, and our CFO would call and go, "Check the account." It's in there.
So, if we look back on all the stuff that you just talked about, you went from this passion in computers by running into, what's it called? The hardware store?
Radio Shack.
Radio Shack. Thank you. It's been a while. Radio Shack. Enjoying that, working with your dad, starting your own business, maneuvering the high to the low where, oh my God, you're going down to $9 Comcast a month, which is a real deal. And then you actually sell out. So you're feeling pretty darn awesome, right? You're looking back and you would have never imagined you'd be there, right?
Right.
65 employees. Your dad didn't want you to go to college. You went to college kind of thing. And now you have a few dollars. You came from nothing, have a few dollars.
Just a couple.
Yeah, a couple
dollars.
nickels together. And you decided that you used a lot of this knowledge that you used because you got kicked around quite a bit. And you're like, hey, I can help other people. And now you're into venture capital, angel funding.
Yeah. So one thing to wrap up the single source piece.
Right.
No, that's good. That's a good segue there is a lot of the employee, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do it without the employees. So we did have the bonus sharing program, bonus bucket program. So we gave that, and then we took a chunk of the proceeds from the sale and we wrote checks to everybody.
Awesome.
And some of them, most of them went on to work at the company that acquired us. But there were 4 of us that stayed behind because the company didn't want everything. We had some stuff that we had built for another software company called Sage. And we built some products for Sage software, and they didn't want those, so we kept them. So I kept, we got to pick 4 employees to keep, and then we gave them equity in what was left of Single Source.
Single Source 2.0.
Single Source 2.0. So they, and that's still today, is still there, is still going. And they're doing other stuff. They went back to work with the company that acquired us. We're looking at other stuff that we're doing, but it's kind of cool because I got to be more of a board member mentor as opposed to day-to-day working in the company.
Yep.
So trying to help them. And that was the thing is like, how do I help people based on my knowledge and mistakes I've made? Like it's still kind of hard to do is like, hey, don't touch the hot iron because it'll burn you.
Right.
Because it's easier to learn that when you touch it yourself and burn yourself. But now I'm like talking to people with so I became a managing partner. Well, there's a little story there. It was like, what am I going to do now that I've sold the company? Do I just retire, go into some sort of a golfing lifestyle and
which isn't you golfing lifestyle? Yes,
I love golf,
but it's the other side. You got to have some work.
Yeah, I'm a little ADHD, probably self-diagnosed. I don't know, but I'm like, how can I help other people?
It's a spectrum, Kobe. It's a spectrum.
It is a spectrum.
So how can you help?
There's a 50-50 chance that I am.
That's true. That's how statistics work.
Yeah, can you explain that, Kobe? The 50-50?
I mean, either he's ADHD or he isn't. I don't know.
And it's 50-50. I love that.
So Kobe went to Purdue and he took statistics. So we just
we trust him. Wait a minute, he didn't graduate though, did he?
Well, that's another story. No, wait, he already told that story.
Hey, we already did.
We already told that story. So anyway, I was really interested in the art of the deal and not in the true Trump side of things. I never read that book, The Art of the Deal. But the art, but being in the deal of how much I learned in the first deal and the failure and then the success of the second version. And I probably, now that I've been through that a couple times, I probably could have even made a better deal if I'd have.
Of course you could have, but we all know you can't look back.
So I talked to your sister, my wife, who's she is just always improving herself and being educated. She's got the industrial engineer from Purdue and an MBA from Butler, and she's a naturopathic doctor, and she keeps learning. And I really did. I was kind of in Kobe's shoes. I went ahead. I did finish college, but I really didn't want to.
Chirp, nerd,
loser. But I really could have gone. I already had my business started before college, and I didn't need to finish college, but I did.
Right.
And it didn't really, the stuff that I was doing my senior year didn't help me with my business really.
Right.
Yeah.
So I could have been on the exact same path that Kobe was. So I'm not really a big go to school and take tests thing, but I was talking to Lori one day. I'm like, I'm thinking about going back to school and getting an MBA in finance because I love these deals, and I think MBA in finance might be the thing to do to help me with deals like this in the future. But I ran into an old customer, had been a customer of mine for close to 30 years. And he was a general partner in this firm that did investing in startup companies. And I met with him, and I got introduced to the partners, and it's called Vision Tech Partners. And I'm like, it's like basically they invest in angel rounds, which is just like
the beginning. We did a podcast of it, remember?
Yes, that's right. So we know what that is if you go view that. But so I said, honey, I could write a check and become a managing partner over here and learn it from day one the hard way, doing it real life.
Not theoretical.
Or I can go to school. She goes, well, you're going to write a check either way, right? And I said, yeah. She goes, I don't see you going back to school. I said, you're right. So I became managing partner. That was end of 2014.
Was that actually that long ago?
Yeah, it was the end of 2014. So
wow, I didn't think it was that long ago.
I thought it was 2015, 2016.
That was 2017.
Because that would have been... Really? Because that was 2 years into my college then.
I know, and I was still paying for college.
Oof.
No, so I got into that and I started learning, and now we've invested. Vision Tech's invested in over 50 companies. I've invested in some companies outside of Vision Tech. Right. So I'm in over 50 company investments, and now I'm starting to learn that pattern matching happens slower, right? Because you invest in a company, and 4 years later they do something good or they go out of business, and you're like, okay, what should I pick up over those 4 years? What should I watch for next time? But so I got into that, and that's fun. I try to tell the founders if I can, and not all these companies I'm even involved. Sometimes I just write a check.
Right.
And sometimes I'm on the board. Sometimes I'm an advisor. But it's like you go to them, you're like, hey, don't touch the hot iron. Sometimes you tell them some stuff, and they got to learn their own mistake anyway, right? From their own mistakes. But I can help them when it comes time for a deal or the LOI or things to watch out for or how you structure your financials.
Well, that's what you're always talking about, right? It's like you want to find some founders that are coachable, right?
Coachable, bingo.
Coachable founders. Because, obviously he's been there, done that. A lot of people who are much younger, not as experienced, it's very valuable to have that knowledge. Absolutely. And a lot of people don't want to listen to it or don't want to take it to heart, and that leads to some interesting situations.
Yeah, just the other day I was talking to some millennial founders, and I started telling them about the stuff that they should watch out for, and they looked at me and they go, "Boomer." Okay, boomer.
Who was that?
I'm kidding.
I was going to say, because it was somebody that we got to know.
Hey, the thing that I've tried really hard to learn over the last few years is what is a meme. And so Kobe still doesn't tell me, but he tells me.
It's hard to explain.
He goes, well, that's the meme.
That is the meme.
What is that? What is that? He goes, that's the meme, boomer.
Boomer.
Anyway, so that's been a lot of fun. And some of these younger or less experienced founders, really, I could tell they appreciate the interaction. And I learn from them still, too, for sure. But that kind of stuff, I really want to be involved with them if they think they know everything already.
Right.
My pattern matching now tells me is I'm less likely to write a check, even if it is cool tech or cool company or
because it really plays a huge role, the people. And the people that think they know it all versus the people that are coachable and willing to do the work is big difference, right?
Yeah, that was a huge thing with Y Combinator, too, is they were like, we don't really care too much about your idea. Obviously it plays something, right. But they meet you and they just quiz you and everything. And it's all about, what they think of you as people, not so much the idea. It's like, do we think that this is a team that can make something happen? Because there were plenty of companies that pivoted out of their original ideas to completely something different.
Didn't you tell me like Twitch? That's why it always stuck with me. It was a guy walking around all day with a camera.
Oh yeah, Justin.tv. It turned into Twitch.tv, which got acquired by Amazon for billions of dollars.
But who wants a Justin walking around doing everything that he does all day, and then it turned into Twitch?
Yeah, and it turned into just this insane idea. But they were just like, we really like this guy for whatever he's going to do. We like him and his team.
And you liked him too. When you met him, you're like, he's pretty cool
really
dude, man. That's awesome. So Tony, you've had just a kind of a very, really interesting life. You're down to Vision Tech. You've got these 50 companies. I think part of our discussion was, let's get some of those guys in here and let's talk to some of those guys about their stories, and we'll have a little bit of fun in relationship to that. Absolutely.
I'd love to. And just a little side plug is the founder of Vision Tech, Oscar Morales. He was in the life sciences side of things, and he's decided, gosh, I guess that's about a year ago, he's going to create a studio. So I'm part of that effort. There's about 5 of us involved with spinning up a venture studio, which is basically a company that helps people take their ideas and build a company out of them. A lot of times in the angel side, we're investing in companies that already exist and have already started to figure stuff out about their product and product market fit and customers. And
so it's an incubator, right?
It's
but it
kind of like an incubator,
additional
but earlier stage.
Yeah, it'll actually spin it all the way up through the funding.
Oh,
so it's
nice.
They'll help them take an idea, and a lot of times it's a founder that has an idea that doesn't know how to build a company. They know more about the technical side of the idea they're trying to get, and they may become the CEO or one of the co-founders, but the studio wraps a bunch of people and resources around it and then spins it out and knows how to do all the fundraising, the management. They have the expertise to kind of beat up the idea and make sure it's the right one for the market.
Yep.
So that's Boomerang Studios. So I'm part of Boomerang Studios as well. So we're going to have that whole life cycle from the start of an idea to the incubation of the idea, to the acceleration of the idea, to the spin out of the company, to the funding of the company in the seed round, to the Series A, venture capital,
and
Series
then
B,
billions
to the
of
exit.
dollars.
What's that?
And then billions of dollars.
And we're looking for billions of dollars.
Yeah, so we're looking for
This
those.
is not a solicitation. This is we're looking to make
We do not
billions
promote Boomerang 2 or Vision Tech.
Yeah,
But they're pretty cool.
Yeah. and I'd love to bring in some of the other companies we work with. Some of them, we've been through a tough period, and some of these pivots, you mentioned pivoting earlier, there are a lot of companies that start off trying to do something that would go out of business if they don't change what they're doing. They figure out, this isn't going to work, and then they pivot to a new idea. There have been some companies that have had some interesting pivots here over the last couple of years, especially with COVID, or some of them that weren't doing very well at all.
That turned into huge successes.
Turned into huge, great opportunities because in the right place, right time with a pandemic, and then there's others who are getting smoked by the pandemic.
Yeah, so I think it would be great.
We could do an interview later on some companies that are getting smoked by the pandemic.
I know that one. I keep waiting for the right moment, but I haven't quite got there yet. But that's absolutely true, and I think what you're doing is just so interesting. I mean, the fact that Kobe has kind of gone through it, you got involved with it after you did your own thing. I just think these are... I don't know. I'm just honored to be involved with you guys. I think you guys are fantastic, and you're doing some great work, and I can't wait to see where it ends up. Anything else you want to part with before we kind of say goodbye?
Couple thoughts. Kobe's probably got some. Buy low, sell high. No,
the market goes up and down.
No, buy high, sell low. You gotta lose some money.
That's only if you're a horse farm.
One of my favorite sayings is the harder you work, the luckier you get.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And back in the day when I used to do those 80 and 100-hour weeks when I had the company starting up, which was crazy if you think about it. I wasn't getting paid very much, and if you look at the hourly rate, it's ridiculously low.
Right.
But I did that, and it paid off in the end.
Yep.
But now what I want to do is I want to find founders of companies that want to go bust it 80 and 100 hours a week and just have that passion and that belief. And I want to back them because sometimes you don't have the money to do it. That's why I want to be an investor in those kind of people. Not necessarily their company, the people, but that kind of all comes with it. So that's some exciting stuff. There's so much opportunity out there.
So really stay tuned because we're going to have some more people come on and give their stories and talk about all these interesting things. And I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm excited that we got the two of you, and I think we're going to get Sam Strasbaugh next, which is slightly different. Not the incubator, accelerator from the start, but somebody that buys companies, does really good things with them, grows them, and sometimes sells them, sometimes keeps them. And so he's going to have a good story too. So
yeah, I had one more thing. I was going to say it earlier. But like talking about entrepreneurship and being a founder, right? Like obviously it's not for everyone. I mean, it's very difficult. Like when he was talking earlier, about the, getting close to the edge, like you were saying, right? Like the highs can be really high, the lows can be really low. And it's not for everyone, but it's definitely, it's an emotional roller coaster and it leads to some amazing experiences. But yeah, like it's just something to keep in mind with that type of stuff is it's like it from the outside, right? It just looks like everything's great. Like, you sold your company, you made a bunch of money, like very successful, but like people don't see what's behind the curtain, right?
And that's a little bit what we're talking about here. Is behind the curtain a little bit. But it is amazing. And I think the cool part, especially now, is the fact that it seems like there's a lot more paths that are out there to start with an idea to make it actually into something.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's a fascinating time to be alive.
Yeah.
And with all your background, Tony, and your tech, you're starting to see these things and you can be very instrumental in growing a lot of companies and touching a lot of people's lives. So I think it's just super cool.
And then the last one is don't touch the hot iron.
We'll end there. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it with Money with Mac and G. And until next time, say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
See ya.